Daniel Schilling, a 46-year-old Alaskan carpenter, and his trusty dog venture out into the wild to clear and construct a primitive trail. But when a brown bear charges at him, things take a dark turn. In July of 2020, Daniel set off into the Kenai Mountains, where the dense foliage and towering trees blocked out most of the sunlight and created a sense of seclusion. The heat of the rising sun beat down on him as he trudged through the underbrush, determined to clear and construct a primitive trail through the rugged mountainside. With the exception of his trusty companion, a loyal dog at his side, Daniel worked alone, using his rustic cabin as a base and venturing out each day to work on the trail. The cabin was located deep in the heart of the forest, a couple of miles from the nearest paved road that connected the remote community of Hope to the seaward highway. The picturesque spot was about 25 miles southeast of Anchorage, and Daniel had chosen his spot specifically for its seclusion and its natural beauty. On July 29th of 2020, Daniel woke up to clear blue skies and the sounds of birds singing in the trees. He dressed in his rugged gear, pulling on his sturdy boots and clipping his bear spray canister onto his belt. It is thought that Daniel brought a handgun with him in his backpack during his construction work, although he preferred to carry bear spray as it was less cumbersome than a firearm such as a shotgun or a rifle. He believed that bear spray would be more effective in deterring bears and would not weigh him down as much during his work. In any case, he didn't plan on being out for long and decided that he would return to the cabin for lunch later in the day, where he could enjoy the peacefulness of his surroundings and rest before heading back out to continue his work. As Daniel and his dog set off towards the path he was constructing deep within the Kenai Mountains, the sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. The dense foliage of the wooded mountainside was alive with the sound of birds chirping and the rustling of leaves in the morning breeze. As they walked, Daniel's companion, a loyal and hard-working dog, sniffed around the base of the trees, occasionally barking in excitement at the scents that he picked up. Daniel, with his sturdy boots and tools, set to work sawing down saplings and lopping off branches. The dense foliage sheltered him from the growing heat of the rising sun. As the midday loomed, he paused for a breather, wiping the sweat from his brow and taking a sip from his water bottle. He probably turned to his companion and said, "Good work, boy. Let's head back to the cabin for lunch, and then we'll tackle that next section of the trail." But as Daniel and his dog began to make their way back, a sudden rustling in the underbrush caught his attention. His dog's ears perked up, and he let out a low growl. Daniel's hand instinctively reached for his bear spray canister, as he said in a low voice, "Easy, boy. Let's just see what we have here." As the rustling grew louder, a large brown bear emerged from the bushes. As the massive Grizzly charged towards him, Daniel's mind raced as he frantically reached for the canister of bear spray in his belt. With only a split second to spare, he managed to point it directly at the charging animal and emptied the entire contents onto its face. But it was too late. The bear collided with him, sending him crashing to the ground with a thud. The force of the impact knocked the wind out of him as the beast stood over him, with its giant paws pressing down on his chest. Daniel fought, and he fought with all of his might, kicking and thrashing as he desperately tried to free himself from the bear's grasp. He swung wildly, landing blows in the bear's snout, but it only seemed to enrage the bear further. The animal let out a thick, rasping snarl as it opened its jaws wide, revealing its razor-sharp teeth glistening with saliva. With the bear inches from his face, Daniel could feel its hot and stinking breath on his skin as it lowered its head, ready to strike. In a moment of blind panic, he let out a scream as the bear bit down on his face, the pain searing throughout his body. He felt its teeth sink deeper into his flesh, and its claws rake across his chest. The attack was brutal, and it was ferocious, and when it was over, no one quite knew what happened to Daniel. Try to picture yourself in his shoes for a moment. The adrenaline pumping through your veins, the fear, the desperation as you try and survive. How scared would you be? Regardless, it would have been a truly frightening and horrifying experience. But don't forget that things like this are not common. When bears attack, it gets very real. So, do you enjoy this type of content? Are you captivated by the thrill and danger of the wilderness? Well, if so, then subscribe. And take a step into the unknown and explore with us to be less goofy. The tragic death of Daniel was not only a shock for those who knew him, but also a mystery to others. His dog had returned home without him, and when Daniel's wife saw the dog arrive, she immediately contacted his friends. They were all surprised to hear that he had been working in such dense vegetation and none of them had seen him that day. It's believed that even if he did have his handgun in his backpack, as his friends claimed, it would not have been enough time to use it. Daniel's wife, together with his friends, set out to search for him. As they made their way through the dense foliage, they couldn't shake this profound sense of unease. They had expected to find Daniel with a sprained ankle or a broken leg, but what they found was far more sinister. Just over a mile from his cabin, they stumbled upon Daniel's lifeless body, brutally attacked by a brown bear. In those desperately sad and heart-stopping moments, they called the local police department to report this terrible news. Daniel's wife and his friends were in shock, disbelief that he was gone. He was such an experienced outdoorsman that they knew his knowledge and hunting expertise had served him well throughout the years. But now, their worlds came crashing down. Biologists who specialize in studying wild animals arrived at the location of the bear attack, where they noticed a strong smell of pepper spray in the air and an empty canister nearby. They searched the area and they couldn't find any reason for the bear to be attracted to said area, such as food. The victim, Daniel, had been working near a stream where salmon were spawning, but it was determined that this wasn't close enough to the site of the attack for it to be considered as prey. The most mysterious piece of evidence that was found was that DNA from both a black bear and a brown bear were found on Daniel's body. This was unusual because the two types of bears do not usually interact, and brown bears have even been known to kill black bears. Some people who live in this area thought that the bears might have attacked Daniel together, but again, this is highly unlikely as bears are solitary animals and they do not hunt in pairs or groups. The most probable explanation is that Daniel unknowingly disturbed a large female brown bear, which then attacked him in self-defense. The bear was not necessarily hunting him, but instead felt threatened and was eliminating this perceived threat from her territory. The bear wasn't interested in eating him and left the kill zone. Statistics on the number of bear attacks in this area reveal that they've been trending upward in recent years, likely due to a decline in the bear population and increased human activity in their habitats. This likely means that bears are coming more frequently into contact with people and they might start to feel threatened by human presence in their territories. As a result, bears might be more likely to attack in self-defense. Additionally, as the bear population declines, individual bears might be competing for food sources, and they might be more likely to act aggressively in order to protect said food sources. It was also determined that the bear spray that Daniel had with him was not effective during the initial attack. The regional wildlife supervisor for the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, who's responsible for investigating the death, suspected that the bear spray was defective. There had been concerns that some cans manufactured between March and August of that year could have been faulty. There's also criticism of the effectiveness of bear spray in general, particularly regarding wind direction, which could result in the spray being blown away from the target. The following day, a flyover of the area where Daniel had been attacked revealed 2 black bears and 1 brown bear within several miles of its location. It's very likely that many other bears were also in close proximity but were not spotted by officials. DNA evidence collected from the swabs of Daniel's body and clothing pointed towards 2 female bears. A week after the attack, wildlife biologists shot and killed 3 female black bears and 1 female grizzly bear. DNA from one of the black bears matched that at the kill site, but DNA from the brown bear did not match. It's important to note that following a bear attack, there is always debate about the use of pepper spray. Some swear by it, while others say that it is foolish to go into bear territory without a high-caliber firearm. However, rangers and wildlife experts say that it's good to use bear spray over a firearm. Researchers have shown that the bear spray can actually be an attractant for some bears. Scientists studying bears in Alaska's Katmai National Park in the 1990s found that the majority of bears they observed rolled and wriggled around in spray that the researchers had sprayed onto the ground. The spray causes the stinging on the eyes and the nose, which is thought to deter an approaching bear. What's been determined is that Daniel Schilling was killed by a female brown bear, who are notorious for mauling anybody who stands between them and their cubs. This story serves as a reminder for those who are outdoorsy in any way, shape, or form to always be prepared and aware when you venture into this beautiful thing called the wild. Might have been a little cliche there, but it's true. Anyway, did you like this video? Well, then maybe watch this one next, tiger. Or bear. Whatever. Puns are hard. I'm leaving. Bye.